Hello and welcome back. In this lesson, we'll be doing something a bit different, and that is that we will be having the melody in the cello and not in the first violins as we have been doing before. I copied the second violin texture and the violi texture from the previous example. And what we'll be doing in this lesson is we'll be adding some harmony, so some long notes in the first violins. But before we do that, let's just listen to how this sounds now. It doesn't sound that bad, actually. There is a few things that we might want to fix, and well, one thing in particular. Let's listen to this bar again, bar 96, and try to hear what might be bothering me and why I would like to fix it. Once more, just bar 96. Did you spot it? If you did, congratulations. What I think is not good in this bar is we have this C in the cello here, and it's fighting with this B in the violi. So I will switch it to an A, and that should be better now. Because a B and a C, we're creating this minor second that really doesn't sound nice. Before, because the violins were one octave higher, what we have in the cello now, it was creating a major seventh, which is still kind of unpleasant, but it's not that noticeable as this B, C minor second is now. So let's hear this bar now. In comparison to what we had before. You can probably hear that this A is a much nicer choice than the B was. All right. So now let's add some long notes in the first violins, and these long notes will add to the harmony that, the double bass is already providing the fundamental bass notes of. If I only have two voices playing the harmony, it's almost crucial you have the third in one of the voices, because that tells us the gender of the chord we are dealing with. But what we still have to take note of is what tones the cello are playing, because the cello provide long notes that add to the harmony as well, although the cello are primarily playing the melody. And in this bar, for example, in the G major chord, the cello are providing the third. So the cello are already providing the third. The violins don't need to be providing the third, because we already have 1/3, and 1/3 is well enough for us to recognize the chord. All right, with that said, let's start and let's see what we come up with. So this is an A minor chord, so let's put a C up here. Then we have an F major chord, let's put an A. Then we have a D minor chord, we can put an F. A minor chord, we can, because it's the second inversion of the chord, we can either do an E or we can do a third. But we already have the third here, so let's do an E. Then we have a G major chord, we have the root, we have the third, we have the root, so let's do a fifth. We have an A minor chord, let's do the third. We have a D minor chord, cello are playing the fifth, so we can do the third. We have a B half diminished over a D. So we can just leave this F here. We don't need to do anything with it. Now we have to do another third and E minor, G, and then when you finish on the finishing chord, you don't really necessarily always need the third or the fifth. Sometimes just the root is enough. I will just put a piano dynamic marking here, and let's listen to this. It sounds quite all right. I like how we managed to pull off this descending line here. And it seems like that what the violins are playing is like an alternative melody, but the main function of it is to provide additional harmony. I do kind of have a problem with this line here, because here we are nicely descending down, and then all of a sudden we have a fourth, and then we have a tritone jump. It just seems a bit out of place. So sometimes it's better, instead of trying to catch the third on every bar, is to think about the line you are creating. So if I would have to consolidate the thoughts I just gave, it's that the melodic line you are creating is more important than the actual notes you are hitting. All right, so let's listen to this again from bar 95. And let's try to create a much better alternative. So the main problem I have is with this jump up to a B. What if we just do a nice G here? But then if we have a G here, then we have another G here, and you always, I mean not always, but usually you want your line to go places, and just staying on the same note is not the best option. So what if we go up to a B, and maybe do a half note, and then go down to a G and land on an A. Let's see how this sounds now. Now this makes a lot more sense. In the first part, we are descending, and now we are slowly ascending again without any, harsh jumps. What I did just realize, though, is that we do have another double third right here, an A and an A. Ideally, I wouldn't want to do this, and I missed it when I was writing this line. But because we are so nicely descending and then so nicely ascending, and it just creates a nice line, I am not going to go forward with changing this A, because we are left basically with two options. One option is to stay on a C, and that is just kind of boring because we're not going anywhere. And the second option is we can go down to an F. And now we have this huge fifth jump, and then we are again left stranded on this F. So I think this A, even though it's a double third, is the best option for this bar. Now we can go forth and maybe create some more passing notes in the first violins to make it even more interesting. So one would think that putting a B here would be the best option. Let's listen to this. But I think putting a G would be much, much nicer, because with the B, we are all of a sudden losing this A, and we're just following the melody here, and it just doesn't create a nice sonic interest. With a G, we all of a sudden on the fourth beat have a B, E, B, G. We create an E minor chord over an A, and I think this sounds a lot cooler. And I think you would agree. So the only other thing I might want to add is maybe change this C up to an E here, because on the third beat, the celli are already providing this C, the third, and we're just doubling it again here in the same octave, but still we are doubling it, so why not add an E, and we would have a full chord here, A, C, E. I'll also add a slur here. And let's listen to what we have now. I quite like this. We could go on and fiddle, with a few more bars. For example, maybe here we would do another passing note, a G, and now we would have a G, C, F, C, E chord, which would be a C major chord with an F, which isn't the most pleasant. Also, well, kind of almost a C major chord with an F major chord. But what if we change a few notes around? We could do a G here. Let's do a C major chord. Let's do a G, C here. G, C. So now we have all of a sudden we have here a C major chord on the fourth beat. Let's hear this. I quite like this. I'll just keep it. So I know I said this E would be the last thing we would change, but because we are already fiddling with the harmonies on the fourth beats in the first two bars, we might as well just do it in some other places and see what we get. So one place I see is right here. We have this B in the cello here, and the C in the basses here, and it's creating A minor chord with a ninth, which is nice, which I really don't mind. But maybe we can go down to a G here, a D, G, B, G, D, and change this E to a D, and now we have a G major chord here. Let's see how this sounds. I like it. We can also go ahead and just fiddle with bar 96. I never really liked this B half diminished harmony here, so maybe let's go to a G major chord and then to an F major chord. So this would be a G, B. Let's do a G, B, D, G, B. And let's go up to a G here, and then F major chord. We have a fifth, we have a root, a third. Let's have all of the notes now here. Tones, and let's see how this sounds now. Now, because this bar 96 is so full and rich in harmony, and we don't have a third on bar 97 right away. We only have it here in the texture. Even this would help out a bit, because now we have the third on the first beat, even though it is not playing in the static harmony. So in comparison to what we had before, I think this is much, much nicer. Okay, so now let's really listen to our final version.
So as always, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. And what I would advise you to do is to take one of the piano sketches that you have created and arranging it in a way where you use the melody in the cello, and then maybe you use the melody in the violi in the next arrangement. And of course, you probably already have created an arrangement where the melody is in the violins. And this exercise will really help you to make your compositions shine, because you will be able to arrange your harmonic layer and your texture layer around your melody in any scenario, whether your melody is in the cello or whether your melody is in the violins. So I highly advise you do this exercise, and until next time, happy composing.